Managerial tip. We're going to talk about the distance. And the distance for me is the space between what you know as a manager or an executive. You know what's in your heart, right? And it's over here. You know what's in your mind. You know what you believe. And over here is what your team believes about what you believe, or how they interpret that. And I think it's your job as a manager to understand that there's a distance there and to work to minimize the space. So I'm gonna give you stories that'll kind of back up where I'm going with this, and I hope that it helps some of you in some way. So Trisha J, I told you I would tell this story, and I am finally getting around to it. Hope you're enjoying Brazil. So everybody, was Trisha J's 1-year anniversary at SEER, and she had been a recent college grad that came to SEER, and she had been here with us for a year. And in that time, she and I sat down for coffee maybe once a quarter. I was impressed by the work she was doing. So when it came time for her anniversary, I swung by her desk, and she wasn't here that morning, and I had to head up to New York for a meeting. My day got busy, and I'm on the train on my way back, and then I've got another event that I've got to go to after that. And I said, oh my God, I forgot to call Trisha and say, happy anniversary, thank you for working with us at SEER. I mean, let's be honest, when you're trying to find ridiculously talented people, you're lucky to have them as a manager, not the other way around. So I've always been very grateful that people have chosen to spend their time with us here at SEER. So what do you do? So in my mind, when I talk about the distance, what I mean is I dropped her an email at 6 o'clock that said, hey, can you give me a call? I'm a young manager, I'm new to this. Didn't know that's a bad idea. And the distance is that in my mind, I knew why I was calling. It was her 1-year anniversary. And I knew I had all the information to know that it was a good thing. I wanted to thank her for being here for a year and let her know that I still remember those things and I try to stay on top of them, and I appreciate what she had done in that year. In her mind, when she was out with her friends for dinner, she got an email from the owner saying, we need to talk. And I was like, no, that wasn't it. And in her mind, what she did is she filled the space between. And her mind went to, oh my God, did I screw something up? Did one of my clients have something bad to say? Am I getting fired? My mind was like, no, this is all good. And that just goes to show that there is distance between what you know in your head, heart, and mind, and what your team members may ultimately be thinking or believing, or the narrative they're making up. So if you wanna tackle this, the first way to do it is with transparency. And I know that seems like a obvious thing, but at SEER, we've just rolled out transparent salary ranges internally, and we're gonna be doing it externally soon, so keep an eye out for that. But basically, we're letting people now know what they make and how many people fall kind of in that continuum here at SEER. And it lets us have an honest dialogue. And I'll be honest with you, not everybody liked where they ended up, surprise, surprise. But at least we took all the information. We showed them exactly how we came up with these numbers. We showed them everything they needed to know, and we asked them if they agreed to that strategy of how to come up with those numbers. So then they did. And then when we came out with our ranges, they now know where they fall. And in between there, they no longer have to look things up, ask friends what they're making in the company or anything. And it means that sometimes we may have to have some tough conversations. It also means that sometimes people come up with really good reasons to tell us why we were wrong. But you'll see more of that in another video. So that's one way. Another way is speak often. And what I mean by that is get used to repetition. I'm telling you, you're not repeating yourself enough internally about the things that your company believes. I am almost 99% sure that if you're watching this, you're not. For instance, when I talk about speaking often, one of the things that I try really hard to do, not that I try, I do, because it matters, is every single person that starts at SEER, within their first usually month, I'll sit down with them face to face, and not over Skype or anything, usually face to face. And we'll go over in small groups, maybe 3-4 people, why I started the company, what I believe, how we kind of approach tough things at SEER and all that. Because it's important for people to know why I built this company. And I could just record a video and say, watch it. But trust me, execs and managers, recording a video and having people watch it, I've learned the hard way that people don't watch it. They watch it in the background while they're doing other stuff. They multitask. And it's better to be able to sit in front of someone and say, hey, you and I sat down and I went over this, than to be like, didn't you watch it? So speaking often is important. So for me, that way, I know definitively that every single person that starts at SEER, I have sat with them in their first month and talked to them about what the heartbeat of this company is, versus just letting them read something or try to make up the distance themselves. It gives them a great opportunity to ask me some seriously tough questions. Another thing I think is really important that I do in all of those meetings, my third tip, is expose weakness. So if you're trying to minimize the distance, it's important to tell people kind of where you're struggling as a manager or as an executive, because it humanizes you. It makes them realize that you're not infallible. And I think those things help to create better bonds between people, and they're more likely to give you benefit of the doubt and trust you, even when there's a little bit of opaqueness between these 2 points, if they kind of know where you're kind of coming from. And the fourth and last thing that I'll drop on you today before I let you go is you gotta live your perks. And I know as a company, when it comes to trust and things of that nature, I mean, we're a big trust shop. Like, if we ain't got trust, we ain't got nothing. However, we've hired people that have said, oh, unlimited vacation. Sure. I've seen that before. And then what they realized, and I never knew this because I've only had unlimited vacation at one company, and that's SEER. But they said, I've been to places that say that, but then every time you put in for it, you can't get it. And I'm like, no, we've approved probably 99.5% of all of our vacation requests, if not 100%, because I have not heard of one time someone being told no. However, people don't know that. And if people don't know that and you don't as a company share that data, then between the how much vacation's too much and is this too little continuum, people will fill that narrative with their own story because you're not giving them the information that's in your head and spreadsheets for them to see kind of where most people fall. So that's one of those things I think is really, really important. And even this year, speaking of living out perks, this year, Crystal, we've had summer hours for the last many, many years, I can't even keep track, where people can leave early on Fridays in the summer. One of the issues that Crystal had with that is not enough executives were taking it. And to be honest with you, as I sit here on this floor today, if your people don't see you living out as an executive or a manager the perks that are out there, then they may think that it's there but not for the taking, which in your heart you might know, nah, I just love my work. Like, I love solving these problems. I love being here and doing these things. In their mind, they're like, I never see my manager take them. So what did Crystal force me to do this year? She said, Will, you must leave on Friday at 1 o'clock, at least half of the summer vacation days. It's important for the company to see you do it. So what did I do? I went to the park right over there and I met my son in the park at 1 o'clock. I scheduled them all out of my schedule so people knew I wasn't there and they saw me leaving. So live your perks, because if you don't, your team's gonna make up the fact that you open up the potential for your team making up the fact that there's a distance and that you aren't really taking them. So I hope this helps some of you out there. I know getting into this mentality of closing the distance has really helped me. See you soon.